we have a couple of the little children that were in that video. I'll stop crying. And I would like to introduce Drew Perchon. He was sitting. And my favorite little girl over here is Paige Sickman. And we're going to have Drew's mom, Kate Perchon. She's going to go ahead and give their little story about what happened from their end to right now. Kate.
Hi, guys. I'm not quite as young, and my skin doesn't look quite as nice as I did on the video. But I'm so happy to be right here talking to you today because I was where you were a few years ago. So here is my little Drew at one of our first conferences. We attended the CNCF conference multiple years. First, during transplant was our first year. We actually left the hospital that day and came here. We live here in the city. And we came to the conference to gather information because he was in the middle of his treatment, and we wanted to make sure we were doing the right thing and doing what all of you are here doing. Several years later, we brought him back and have continued to come sporadically throughout the years. But my son Drew, that you met just a few minutes ago, is now a 15-year plus survivor. He was a stage 4 neuroblastoma and MIC amplified patient at 22 months in November of 2007 when he was diagnosed. So here's Drew today. You saw him, so you know what he looks like now, right? All right. So a little bit about our family. My husband Rob and I we have 2 boys, Drew and his brother Ben. He is a survivor, and I am also a special educator. So I've had 23 years in education, and I'm also an advocate for childhood cancer. My family and I started an organization called the Nick Foundation. You might have seen our logo out by the kids' room. My mom and I started that foundation after Drew was out of treatment to provide some support for families in Northwest Indiana, where we live in 8 counties. So this is our family now. We just headed to, I think that's from Yellowstone. We went to Yellowstone this summer, and it was a lot of fun. It's us. So this next slide is the beginning of our cancer story, because honestly, I was right where you were, and I never thought this would happen to me. I used to tell people that cancer was something that happened to the cute bald kids on TV, right? It was this commercial of something that happened far away in another town, in another life, to someone else. It didn't happen to me. I didn't know people in my community. And so it was extremely scary. I'd been hit by the same bus you were all hit with. So just a beginning of our story was the black eye. So on the left is a picture of Drew in September of 2007. And then the picture on the right is Drew in October of 2007. So within a few weeks, he developed a black eye that then turned into a pretty severe, what looked like an injury. He had no other symptoms. He was 22 months old. He was healthy, he was active, he was eating, everything was normal for us except for that eye. And we were very fortunate that his tumor presented somewhere we could see it, because it alerted us that something big was happening. We took him to an optometrist who dilated his eye and said, nothing's wrong with his eye. He's probably just a little boy and getting hurt. And so we kind of did that dance for a few weeks, and then we finally had an ophthalmologist look at it who said, I think I want to do a CT scan and see what's going on. And so again, we really kind of tried to remain casual at the time. We never thought it was cancer. And he went for a CT scan, and he was then diagnosed on November 6th, 2007. Here's diagnosis weekend when we were at the hospital. So you can see that his eyeball was kind of being pushed out. The tumor there was behind his eye. And they then also found 13 additional tumors peripherally in his arms and legs. He had a 9-centimeter tumor on his adrenal gland, on his left adrenal gland, and the one behind his eye was 2 centimeters, and he was also blood and bone marrow packed at the time. But again, I know that many of you have had the same story where you didn't realize how sick they were because they're small. He had a 9-centimeter tumor in his abdomen, and I was changing his diaper and giving him a bath, and I didn't know any different. So we were, like you said, blindsided, like all of you. I was also 8 months pregnant, so there's a picture, lovely photo of me. But I wanted to illustrate how pregnant I was with our second child. And so going through this was really complex for us. So it was very scary. If you have other children, you know just that their lives are being upended. And truly, honestly, I was scared to be someone else's mom in that moment. I wanted to only be Drew's mom, right? He needed me the most, and how was I going to have a baby and give that baby all the love and attention? He and Daddy shaved their heads in that picture together so that they could look the same when it was time to do that. So there's Drew. He was so thrilled to have a baby brother. Look at him on the left. What is this thing? But truly, I want to say that it was a blessing to have a baby during this. I had a friend from church told me that this baby was going to be a blessing in disguise, and at the time that was just so overwhelming for me, but I thought, okay, and it was, because I got to also be a normal mom, right? So if you have other children, you know what I'm talking about. You know, you get to go to soccer games, or you get to go home and make dinner, empty the dishwasher, and so for a moment, you get to kind of feel like a regular mom. So Rob and I took turns going back and forth to the hospital and caring for a newborn and caring for Drew with the help of so many, all the grandmas. I can't even imagine how anyone does it without grandmas. So that was our state. That was that part of our journey. Drew did 5 rounds of chemotherapy, and during his chemotherapy, we found CNCF. At the time, this is pre-social media, which sounds like a dream world before we had it, but we found CNCF on the listserv. There was a listserv at the time, and we came to know Pat. And so throughout his journey, we just kind of got to know this community, and it was such a relief to know other people who truly knew this journey we were on and had answers and had information. I was the kind of person who wanted to know everything there was to know about this, and so I needed the information, and I needed this circle. So Drew did, after his chemotherapy, he did have his tumor resected, and we were extremely fortunate that his tumor was dead to the core. So at the time, all the peripheral tumors had dissipated, including the one in his eye, and his tumor was resected dead. And then he went to apheresis, which you can see him there on the right. It took a lot of suckers and a lot of DVDs. You can see our little DVD player, and a lot of Matchbox cars to get through apheresis. But we did that, and he harvested for his stem cell transplants here in Chicago at the time. I can't remember the number, ANBL 0621, I think it was, but it was the triple. Do you know which one I'm talking about? He did 3 stem cell transplants here in Chicago. So on the left is one of the, those big complex situations that follows your child around. That was during his transplant there. He has his T-shirt on that says "Got stem cells," and we then we welcomed him home. We then went on to do radiation. And then he also did 10 rounds of cisretinoic acid. I think the protocol at the time was 4 or 5. And in LA, they were doing more. And so we chose to try and jump on and see how far we could take it. So we took him through 10 rounds of retin-A. He ended treatment in fall of 2009. And Drew has been event-free and cancer-free since April of 2008. So we're very, very blessed for that. Thank you. So after that, we went back to life, right? Drew was fitted for his hearing aids. He took to those right away. You can see how adorable they were. He went to preschool. He was super happy. He was just the sweetest little thing. We took his Make-A-Wish trip. Of course, we went to Disney. He was 4, right? And we had a great time in Disney. We began advocacy. Here is him with his little brother at Alex's lemonade stand. We did several. We did some events for CNCF. We did some events for Cure Search. We did some for Alex's lemonade stand, and we were just kind of working our way around the circle, right? How do you do that? And during that time, I went back to work. And for those of you who have been through this or been through this multiple times, you know that going back to the world, you're not the same person you were before, and so the world doesn't feel right anymore. So I was very fortunate. I went and had some therapy. I went and saw some counselors, and I got some great advice. She told me that I probably likely had PTSD, and many of you have probably been diagnosed or have suspected. And what I thought was interesting is I said to her, of course, that's for veterans. And she said, you're a veteran and you've been to war. She said, you've seen things that you can't unsee, and you've been places you can't unbe ever again. So you have been to war, and you are a veteran of this. And this is your life moving forward. But she also explained to me, and I don't know if some of you have experienced this, but little things would set me off. I'm a teacher, and my first year back to school, I remember a parent getting upset about a lunch snack. It was a simple situation about a snack got mixed up with another child's snack, and there was a very serious, angry parent about the snack. And I remember before I responded to this email, going next door to my coworker and telling her, how can she be upset about a snack? There's children dying of cancer. And that was really my mind, my eyes were just, I went back. My eyes were just watering, and I was breaking down in my classroom. And she said, Kate, not everything is cancer, right? Not everything is cancer in this, right now, in this moment, right? It's just a snack. It's okay. But to me, I had known what kind of terrible, serious things were going on with children right in this moment. And I thought, how can she care about a snack, right? This is her child. And so I talked to my therapist about that, and she said, cancer is now your 10, right? Imagine all the things that happen to you in your life is on a scale of 1 to 10, right? And 10 is your most intense experiences. So cancer is your 10, but, snack is a 3. Right? It's okay for you to respond to snack at 3 level and respond to cancer at 10 level. And so I thought that was a really powerful piece of advice, that when I try now to respond to things in my life, I try and measure where it is on my scale. It's not my 10. It's not cancer, and I don't have to respond to it that way. When it's cancer, I will respond that way, but when it isn't, I get to tone it down a bit. So that was very helpful. Another thing that we learned, here is Drew with his Eagle project. He just completed, by the way, he's a senior now, and he completed an Eagle project. He built a gaga ball pit at his elementary school. If you're not familiar with that game, look it up. It's super fun. But another thing that we had to learn through this process was really just to respect each other's path moving forward in and out of the cancer world. So my mom and I talk about this a lot. We still work with families who have a child with cancer, and we know that everyone's journey is very different, and everyone's outcome and everybody's reaction and everybody's involvement is different. So now that I'm no longer a parent of an active child in treatment, I had to find my healthy dose of this world. And you will all discover this as well. When your children are well and treatment has ended, you will discover that for some people, being active in the world means doing this, right? I mean, we're here, what Pat did, and taking this experience and devoting your life. And for some, it may be that you move on and never look back. And you may be somewhere in between, and all of those are okay. All of those decisions are fine. It's how you personally feel you can move forward in this journey. So for me, I found that I had to have a healthy dose somewhere in between, right? I had to find, I can hover a little bit in the cancer world from time to time, and I help run an organization for childhood cancer, and I enjoy my role in that. But I also know where my limit is, and I call that my healthy dose, right? You have to know what your dose is and what your healthy dose is. My husband and I had to learn that our doses were different too. He wanted to move on, and I see some folks nodding their heads. He wanted to move on, but we have very different roles. We're both still advocates, and we're both still very much, we love telling Drew's story, but how we do that, we had to respect each other's differences and how we move forward. So where is Drew now? He's right here. He still has a yearly visit at the hospital. We're here at Lurie Hospital in Chicago. And he has a team of doctors that he sees. He does suffer from some long-term side effects. He has some hearing loss and wears hearing aids. He does see a cardiologist, is under some cardio restrictions just for heart safety. We did work with some growth hormones and an endocrine specialist as well for some of those things. And then just other, small issues over the years that we've dealt with. But we always say, I don't care if he's purple because he's here. And so whatever we knew early on, whatever issues we had to deal with moving forward meant we had moved forward. So that was okay with us. All right, so Drew I know this is the part I loved hearing the most, was that Drew does so many amazingly normal things. He's an athlete, he's a scholar, he plays baseball and volleyball. He is an amazing friend, he's a scout, as you saw. He's incredibly bright. We travel, we do all the things that our family dreamed of doing years ago when we were in your seat. And you will do those things too, and you will be here on this podium, you will. And I truly believe that. So, some lessons I've learned. I've gone over my time, and I'll try and be fast. I'm sorry, because we have an amazing guest after me. That there are so many good people in the world. You know these things. You're learning this through your journey. As I said before, seek help. Find help from family and friends, but also from therapists and counselors. Find this tribe right here. You found it, and you're already there. Other folks who truly say, I know what you've been through, and not when you say my child has cancer and someone says, I know how you feel because my grandma had cancer. I feel folks are laughing because you've all heard this from someone, and I just, right, my mom is like pretending to punch someone right now. Because my grandma did have cancer, and it was very difficult for our family, but it was not a person that I birthed and would literally let a train run me over for. So it's not the same. It's not the same. I had to find my tribe. I've also learned that not everything is a 10. I explained that one to you already. And that you need to know your dose. And it's okay to have a dose that is 0, right? When you move on from this, it's okay to move on. And to respect each other's dose, like I said. My husband and I had to learn to coexist in that space. And then things that I've learned about parenting a survivor, which I'm very excited to share with you because you will all be parenting a survivor someday, and this will apply to you. Try not to overreact to every time they say they have a headache. It's hard. Kiki's shaking her head. It's very hard. And pick your battles, right? Just like any other kid. Learn to advocate for them, just like you have been doing, but also teach them to advocate for themselves. Drew has always been part of his medical conversations from the time he was very small. However, it was appropriate to involve him in those conversations, we did. And we still do. Now he is 17, and so the decision goes to him first, and us second. We ask him his opinion first, and he drives that bus. And also let them choose their own dose. Drew's involvement in this world is very different than mine. He is proud to be an advocate for childhood cancer, but in his own way. And that's okay, and I respect that. And then again, involving them in their decisions as they grow. He's learned that he has to have a lot of medical information at his fingertips. He needs to know those things about himself. And so we have a lot